I am the chairman of the Weslaco Area Chamber of Commerce. I'm the chairman of the board, and the chamber, we're the folks who are putting on this event. As you can tell, there's quite a few people out there. So I want to thank you all for coming out here this morning. And of course, one of the more important aspects of the valley has to do with farming. And onions are a very integral part of our industries here in South Texas. As a child, I myself actually got to pick onions. I grew up on a farm, so I know how difficult it is to grow and harvest them, but it's a very important crop. So today, we actually have some special guests. We have Mike and Kristen from Tex-Mex Sales, and they're going to talk a little bit about the onion, a little bit about the industry, and afterwards, if you would like to do a Q&A, ask questions about anything that has to do with the onion. So I'll let Mike take over, please.
Chris, thank you, Kristen, you going to come up here? Good morning, good afternoon, everybody. Tex-Mex Sales was a company that was basically started in 1964 by my father. He moved here from Arizona, was here as a chain store buyer, and he ended up moving here for supposedly only 6 months and met my mother. And the story we sold, he ended up moving down here, living down here, and started his company in the late 60s. We ended up moving here to Weslaco in 2007. We ended up buying the property right down the road, the onion facility. That's what Tex-Mex Sales is, just right behind City Hall here. If you guys want onions before you go, if you guys are leaving to go home, you're more than welcome to go by there. We'll sell you some onion bags to take home with you when you leave, if you're going back north.
So they're selling them today?
We do.
We right down the street?
Right, take a right down the street. It's the second left on Garza Street.
What street?
Garza. So you'll see the onion facility. Yeah, we'll sell 50-pound bags for you when you go home. You can keep them. They'll last you for a couple months if you hang them in the garage. The trick is to hang them on a rafter or something and hang them. And as long as they don't lay on the ground too much, they'll last for a few months for you. My daughter here. I'm going to skip around and do a few things. My daughter here in 2019 graduated from Texas A&M and came to work with me. Thank God. And she grew up working with me. My dad is retired. My dad is the one on the picture over there, but my dad started the company, retired 2 years ago. But my daughter came in after she graduated, and she really handles food safety for us and helps with sales. But we grow, pack, and ship our onions. Something about Tex-Mex Sales that when we started out in 2001 is when we bought our first repacking machine. So what we do is called being value added. We do the 3-pound bags that you guys picked up outside. So that was something that we got into in the early 2000s, and that's kind of grown our business over the last 20-some years because we pack for HED, a lot of the retailers in the United States, and we pack the 3-pound bags, 5-pound bags, or whatever type of consumer bags they want. And that's kind of got us in a niche at that point, and ended up growing it, and that's mostly what we do for not all the onions. We sell food service, but for retailers, a big part of their business is consumer bags, and that's what we do. We farm 300 acres of onions here, so I do a little bit of everything. I farm, I run the sales. So we're pretty much, it's a family operation. So it's me, my daughter, a lady that's been working for us for 30 years, and we kind of do everything. We start our planting in late September, October through November, and we harvest now. And we are busy for the next 3 months, tremendously. I mean, we're going, we start at 9 o'clock in the morning and we finish shipping at 12 o'clock at night because we're just loading so many trucks every night. But it's for 2 to 3 months, and that's the way it is in onions. You just, it's quick, and it's very quick, and we can't store the onions too long, so we have a limited time window to move them. So we go really hard for a short period of time. Just over the years, the facility has grown. We've enclosed it, made machinery things to kind of help, but we employ somewhere between 60 and 80 people in the shed, and about 150 people out in the field harvesting, because we harvest everything by hand. So all the onions you see are harvested by hand. They clip the neck and clip the roots. So it is it's a labor intensive, but it's like she said, and I think it was in the early 20s, I think they started growing the first onions here in Texas. And it was, as the years gone on, they made a Texas 1015 is what we call it. And that's what it's a Texas 1015. And that was because the best date to plant it was October 15th. And that's where you get the 1015. That was an optimal day to plant the onion at that point in the 60s. And so that variety is kind of the parent of all the varieties we plant now. So they're all hybrids, but that was really how things started. Was with, I think, Dr. Pike at Texas A&M and his 1015 in the early 60s and 70s. That's how he made that variety. It started. And so all the varieties we use are pretty much off those parent lines. And it's right now we've had great weather, thank God, knock on wood, we don't want any rain. We have a month until probably about the 15th of May for harvest, and so the hardest part we have is weather. If it rains, it's real hard. We're fighting weather. But this year it's been, knock on wood, very, very good, and we just need another month and a half, and we'll be finished and going on to another year. It's the same thing. We'll finish, get land ready here in the summer, and we'll plant again in September. And that's kind of what we do at Tex-Mex. We do onions year round, but here in Texas, this is our focus here, and it's very, very fast and furious for a few months.
Is there a rotation on it, or do you leave the ground set idle?
You do. We probably plant 2 years in a row and then let it sit idle 3 or 4 years. So you have to rotate. So you can just figure I only grow onions on vegetables. That's more than enough. I mean, I have enough problems with onions than other. But we grow corn and grain and cotton to rotate. But yeah, we do onions. I do onions year round. So yes, ma'am.
Do onions grow better in dry weather or in a wet season?
They'll do okay in a wet season. They just need sun. So you need sunlight hours. Wet season, if it's too much, you get disease. So then you're spraying more and stuff like that. In harvest time, it's no fun with the wet season. But during the season, we like rain. We just don't like rain all at one time. Here in South Texas, we can get, like this year, we had from September 15th through November 24th, we had 25 inches of rain. And 3 of them came with 5-inch rains within a couple hours of each other, all at one time. So that's our struggle. I replanted 70 acres of onions this year because they got washed out. So it's and it was the worst year I've ever seen. We usually get weather August, September, maybe early October, then it stops. This year we had 10 inches of rain Thanksgiving. I don't know if you guys made it here in Thanksgiving time, but we were wet during Thanksgiving, and that never happens. We had up north. We farm about 30 miles north of here, just on 88, straight up past Delta Lake, and that's where we farm. It was quite a bit. It was a very stressful year when you go and you plant something, and all of a sudden you get it washed out. You're trying to figure out how to, do you keep the onions or do you not keep the onions? Because yield is everything in farming. But if you replant, then you lose the time slot too. So if I planted it on the 5th of October and it gets washed out on the 25th of October, if I replant it in November, it's not the same time slot. So all of a sudden, I don't have any onions to have earlier. So, we take, a lot of the times this year, we had very low yields on a couple fields, but what do? I have to have onions for our customers. So,
You plant the same maturity when you replant, or do you go have younger, shorter season varieties?
No, we all do short days, but they're between 150 and 180 days, no matter what you do. So, if you lose 20 days, you lose 20 days. It's going to be 20 days later. There's really not any varieties that would catch up that we can do.
If you lose 20 days, is it just a smaller onion at maturity, or is it a flavorful difference?
No, there's no difference. The onion varieties are all, like I said, the way we grow them and the varieties we have, they're all pretty much sweet onions. So, you know, we might sell some to a restaurant, but, you know, we focus on sweet onions, and that's the varieties we grow. But, yeah, no, the time difference doesn't really make a difference. It's just the window you have to market them and when you harvest them. So we try to harvest the very beginning of March and go through the middle of May. And if I would have taken out some onions, I wouldn't have had any March onions. And so that would be, yes ma'am.
Are they planted by hand?
No, we do plant them we direct seed them. So in Vidalia, Georgia, and some other places, a lot of the times they'll plant them on a bed and then they'll transplant them. And I have not figured out monetarily how to do that yet. It doesn't make sense to me. So we plant everything by direct seeding into the ground with a planter. And that's why we have a hard time sometimes when it rains. Because they're coming up, you get them out of the ground, they're about that little, and then 5 inches of rain. Either lose them or you don't. They're little babies. Yeah. Like I said, my daughter here, we are super excited to have her at Tex-Mex. My son is going to college right now. We'll see if he joins the team here when he finishes. But she's worked here all 4 years of college, and in high school, we made her work on the grading line. I started working at 9 years old. My dad we had a packing shed, and our shed was in Mission at one time.
True farmers.
True farmers. Put your son to work at 9. But I remember I made $3.25 an hour. That's what I made when I first started working at 9 years old. I still remember.
That's about all
What
I
the
made
heck?
when I got out of high school.
What the heck was FIFA? What was Social Security? At $3.25, what are you making? What is all that? So. I grew up working in the sheds. We grew at that time a lot of cantaloupes and honeydews and watermelons and onions. But there's really no honeydews and cantaloupes anymore in the valley. It's kind of changed. It's completely went offshore, and there's just no market really here for them anymore. But I grew up in the sheds working, and I tried to give my kids. I really thank my dad. My dad was very tough on me and made me who I am. But I thank him because he always told me, if you don't graduate from college, son, you can always come back and work for minimum wage at the shed. That was the way to make you go to college. You always got a job if you need it. So it made me appreciate hard work. I have no problem hard work. I even still get out there and I'll get in there at the farm or at the shed and do it. It doesn't bother me. And I think that was one good thing that he taught me, making me work doing it, because if you work hard, then your people that work for you work hard, and it's led by example. So I appreciated them doing that, and I hope that her mom wouldn't let me work as hard as my dad worked me. I would have worked a lot harder than they actually did, but Mom wouldn't let that happen. But she did work on the grading line during her high school years, and then she came in and worked in the office, and she made her decision that she wanted to come to work. And so that's what she studied at A&M, and I'm really glad she did. And that's what you work for, is to leave something to your kids. And I'm just glad that a lot of the times, I know a lot of the kids don't want to work on the farm anymore. They don't want to work in the packing sheds. And so I'm glad that she did, and hopefully her kids will want to do the same thing.
You raise your own seed?
No, everything we do is bought from seed sales, from outside seed sales, but they're all hybrids now. There's really to do that, you have to have an OP or open pollinated seed, and there's really not that anymore. They're real good. They make sure that you have to buy the hybrid, so you can't. If you make seed, exactly. If you make seed out of it, you couldn't plant it. It wouldn't. You don't know what side of the family will come up. Is I guess the way it works.
Yeah.
So, you guys farm where you're from? Corn?
Northern Iowa.
Northern Iowa.
Corn,
So
soybeans.
you guys got to be getting on it here in a couple weeks. In April, yeah. We finished the 15th of April here on cotton or grain or corn, so we'll finish up, but planting anyway. But if you got any other questions? Other than that, if you guys, like I said, before you guys leave, feel free to come down to the shed and pick up some bags before you go. Yes, sir.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but when we go back up north, we buy a bunch of onions. What's the best way to transport?
No, in your trunk or on the back. You know, if you have a whip, however you're doing it, they're okay. No, they'll come in a 50-pound bag for you. You know. Yes, yeah, and like I said, if you can put a hook in your garage or something up on the ceiling in a rafter and get it good and tight, if you hang it, then just cut the bag open in the middle and grab your onions out and let them hang. If they sit on the ground, after a while, the onions that are getting the pressure on the ground will go bad. Or you can, yes, ma'am.
I just have to say, I live in Michigan, but we came home last year from being here. I went to shop at Kroger, and here's a bag of 10-15s from Weslaco, which has to be you. I mean, face to face, the guy who packed out.
That's correct. We do ship Kroger. That's yes, we do. So we were shipping Kroger last year, and we do Kroger year round. I do Kroger out of here. This year we're not shipping to Michigan, but by the time you get home, I would, you know, it just depends. But right now we're in Houston, Dallas, Denver, Cincinnati with them. But we do that's kind of what we do. We focused in retail, and that's what we started, like I said, in the early 2000s. So it's kind of helped grow our business. But yes, thank you for supporting us. How were the onions? Excellent. That's what I told you. We do a little different. Like I said, there's onion care. We do a lot of different things. We bring stuff, we harvest it out of the field, we bring it in bins, and then we size it and dry it, and then grade, while we're sizing it, we're grading it, and then we pack it and grade it again. And really because we go to retail. Because, you want to, my dad taught me, it's always best to have the customer want to buy your onion again. And that was what he taught me. Yes, ma'am.
What's the exact address of your place back there?
504 East Railroad Street.
504 East Railroad.
Yeah, just take it right out of here, and it's 2 blocks down the road on the left. You can't miss it. We're right behind City Hall. All the onion trucks out there.
All the crates sitting there.
Oh yeah, all the crates and the onion trucks. If you pull in, there's onion trucks all over the place. So, so we're. Yes, sir.
What's the farthest away you ship?
Canada, probably. Caribbean. We go to Puerto Rico, so we'll ship into Florida and go to Puerto Rico. So we go all the way to Canada. Sometimes I know people want us to ship to California, go to Hawaii, but that's not really. Puerto Rico is probably our biggest destination on retail that we go to that's consistent.
So what are all these onion trucks? Are all these trucks coming up on 10-15?
Those are from Mexico. Coming out of Mexico. So it's kind of tough. You have an overlap of it. Like I said, I have Mexican onions in my shed right now. But we have customers that don't want Mexican onions. They want Texas onions, like Kroger or HEB. Right now, they want Texas if they get it.
Is there a difference?
Really, no. No, they're the same varieties, but they're grown in Texas. And you know what? It's kind of nice to have someone support Texas growers because it's been real difficult. Texas used to grow 10,000, 12,000 acres. We grow 5,000 acres now. It's just too many onions coming out of Mexico, too many onions out of Washington and Idaho that are in storage too long. And our market window has shrunk, so it's kind of been difficult for the onion industry in South Texas. It's shrunk. Hopefully, that, like I said, as years go by, maybe we'll get more of a buy Texas, buy U.S. in our time period and support the Texas grower. But it's kind of hard. I have Mexican growers too that send the onions, and I have to ship. It's a difficult. We do both. I'm not saying it. We have Mexican onions in the shed, and I have Texas onions in the shed.
So you had a lot of rain this year, but
In the
it's
planting
not
season.
normal. So how's the reservoir is low, right?
The
Water
reservoir
levels
is good. We'll probably go on here's the deal too. If Mexico releases the water they're supposed to release, we will not have any rationing. But that will probably happen in late June or July when the rains start happening here. If Mexico releases water in the Rio Grande, then we'll have water.
So you're good with your onions usually because of the normal rainfall.
Well, usually we have, we'll plant, and another thing too is, the vegetables are what's being planted in the fall. Your grain, your corn, your cotton is not being planted until right now, and the water for it is going to be used in the next couple of months. So we kind of are, at our point, we have water to use normally in the onion season. Yes, sir.
So back in the 90s, I used to work for Holden Wallace and Donna.
Yes.
I worked for him 7 years. Now back then, they used to floor load the flatbeds to, as a Goshen,
Yeah.
New York or Canada.
Yeah.
It was about 1,000 sacks
Correct.
floor load. Now of dry vans, maybe 800, 900 bags. So why is it now palletized?
Because no one wants to stack them in the truck, and no one wants to unload them anymore.
See, I was a supervisor for the
Right.
shipping and receiving. If I ever given a chance when that phone didn't ring, I would go in with the guys, and I used to love floor loading those trucks. I used to do the calculations. Ask the driver, you want a heavy in the front or heavy in the back? And they'll tell me.
We did that still, like you said, we floor loaded trucks forever. Because that you get more, and it didn't matter when you went back to any place, they still charge you, even on pallets, most of them will charge you unloading anyway.
Yeah.
It's like a racket, but if you want to charge unloading, we'll throw them on the floor for you, right? You can unload it and really charge unloading. But now there's just not enough labor.
Back, and I remember some of the drivers used to mention, I think it was like $1 a sack or so, but they got paid. So they just they had the lightest tractor
Yeah.
and lightest aluminum trailer. So they said 1,000, 1,100 bags, the more the merrier.
Right now, the transportation part of this is the hardest right now. They're just with everything going on. Trucks are very, very difficult and high. Obviously, diesel's high, but I mean, just transportation in general is tough. There's no more. There's not a lot of flatbeds anymore. They're hauling steel or they're hauling something else, and getting paid more money. So, but I don't know what else if I missed anything here for you guys, but yeah. Also, this is one thing I didn't mention. Texas 1015s are the first domestic onion of the year. So that's us.
Yeah.
U.S. grown. So like I said, it'll go here, and then by day, and then New Mexico, California, Washington, and Idaho, and it's just a cycle. It's a year-round thing on onions. But we are very happy to you guys came and showed up for this, and I hope if I said anything was informative and you enjoyed it. Thank you.
If you want onions, you can always go to Tex-Mex sales, 504.
Before you guys leave, come and get some onions, like I said, and we will get you 50-pound bags before you guys go home.
Was that Gulf to Bryan before?
The Gulf to
Okay.
Bryan. We bought it from Gulf to Bryan in 2007.
I did want to mention, we'll have another demonstration in about 30 minutes. So y'all want to come back and we're going to actually do a cooking demonstration.
Great, guys.
Thank you.
Who's your best customer?
All of them. All of them. Yeah, that's, we're not gonna, she's got me live on TV, all of them.